my name is John Slug, and today I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the new Randal R3s. So the R3 is a reverse kingpin truck made by Randal, and it's the third version of their traditional truck. This is the V2, and I don't have any of the version 1s, but the version 3 is a vast improvement over the version 2. I got these trucks about a month or a month and a half ago. I set them up on my sugar kick and rode them around town for a while, probably about 2 weeks. And then just this past, 8 days, I have been on a trip in California, flew down to LA, skated San Diego, Malibu, Bakersfield, Santa Barbara, and San Francisco. Some things to know about these trucks are that they come in 50 degrees, they run regular size bushings, they have a width of 180 millimeters, they have an angle of 50 degrees, they come with a press fit grade 8 kingpin, 2 speed rings, double cup washers top and bottom, double barrel bushings. The first defect that I noticed was that the top washer would bend out, but I just replaced that with a normal milled flat washer. It might be an Array or an Amish or something. Just some sort of milled flat washer. One thing that I really like about Randal's is that the kingpin does not interfere when you're grinding unless you go to do a nose grind. Kingpin has that clearance, which is really nice. So you can go sloppy, whatever, grind ledges. If you're a real buck, get handrails. You can do it all, just don't nose grind or else your kingpin will hit. But you can still nose grind on coping and stuff, so that's pretty cool. One thing that I like about these trucks is that they're surprisingly stable for a 50-degree base plate. I took them up to about, I want to say 45 miles an hour on the trip, tops. I don't really like racing down roads. I haven't skated before, so I took it chill, but they were really stable, really fun, carby at speeds, not really twitchy. I know my buddy Chet flips them, and he really enjoys that, but yeah, I'm riding mine unflipped with the stock bushings, and it all feels great. I know a lot of people's concerns with Randal's are that they bend, but my experience with the R3 as compared to the R2 is that it bends much less. If you look here, I'll just place that as a straight edge. So when you line it up, the axle should be aligned with this straight edge. And this on the R3 is much closer than it is with that on the R2. So, the R2 hanger is bowed out, so that contributes somewhat. If I turn it to where I was grinding it, it's not terribly bowed, but on the bottom there it's sticking out, and it sticks out a lot more than it does with the R3. So I'd say that that is a great improvement that they made. Another big improvement from the R2 to the R3 is the kingpin hole. On the R2 kingpin hole, you can see how it would go side to side with the kingpin, and it would interfere, and that interference would bend up your bushing seat, and it would chew up your bushings and just not feel great. The new R3 has a much more open hole, and so that allows for the kingpin to move around, and it won't interfere with the sides, gives you a deeper lean, deeper turn without any interference. So Randal did a good job on that. Randal also really improved the base plates. On the old base plate, there was a hole where you could pop out the pivot cup, which was a cool idea, but it kind of caused the pivot cup to get mushy. Also, up around the sides, it was unprotected, and that would lead to your pivot cup mashing out a lot easier since you get that lateral slop. On the new base plate, they eliminated that hole, and they brought up the material around the pivot cup so that your pivot cup doesn't blow out as fast. It's well supported, and they also pressed in a kingpin, which is very nice. It eliminates a ton of the slop that Randal's had, so that was really cool to see. If you remember, well, even if you don't remember, in the old Randal's, the kingpin was backwards, and I kind of like that feature because it allowed you to grind easier and do different grinds, especially nose grinds and crooks and all that sort of stuff if you're into that. So that was pretty neat. So I was kind of disappointed to see that go, but even so, I think that the new base plate is much better. You can vary your wheelbase a little bit if you mount it new school, which is cool, and you can mount it old school as well if that's what you feel like doing. On the old one, they didn't have that. Next, let's get into the bushings. So the bushings that come with the new Randal R3s look like this. I rode these my entire trip. They're really good bushings, surprisingly good for stock bushings. I'm sure it's some cheap urethane manufacturer, but it does the job and feels good, which is interesting because if you remember, the old Randal bushings were the worst. I could not ride these, and the first thing I would do is pop them out, but I was really stoked on these. They have a built-in slop stopper, and it is actually the same size as a caliber 2. If you want to swap out for like riot cups or something, you can do that. Overall, I'd say these trucks are definitely worth checking out. If you have ridden Randals in the past, you're going to think they're a vast improvement to those Randals, and if you haven't ridden Randals in the past, they're definitely worth checking out just to see how they ride. They're pretty much a cast era, and if you like that kind of feel, then you like these trucks. Pop into your local shop, see if they've got them. If they don't, ask them to grab some, because they're definitely worth checking out and feeling, because they're vastly superior to the Randals in the past, and in my opinion, a lot of other trucks. So go find some.